Hello, everyone. Attorney Joshua Mykrit from New Liberty Law here, and this is your Liberty Minute. Today, we're talking about a major shift in immigration detention rules and why these rules keep changing and what this means if you or a loved one is detained by immigration authorities. So point number one, what's changed? What has ICE changed? Several months ago, back in late summer, ICE began enforcing a new detention policy saying that immigrants who entered the United States without permission or without papers are subject to mandatory detention, no bond hearing. This was a big deal because for 30 years, many people in this situation could at least ask for a judge to release them while their case was pending. This now is not an issue. It's not available. It's not possible under this new policy. Point number two related to this. Immigration courts began following this policy. After the policy originally came out, immigration judges across the country began denying bond hearings, meaning like denying even a court hearing to somebody who's in this situation. Even people with families, with long work histories, with no criminal record, were being told, no bond for you. Your hands are tied. You have to stay in detention until we decide whether or not to let you stay in the United States. Point number three, a single federal court pushed back in California, the Central District of California, which is located in San Francisco. This federal court ruled that ICE and the immigration courts were wrong, that immigrants who entered without papers still do have a right to a bond hearing, again, not necessarily to a bond, but to a hearing, unless another law clearly requires detention, for example, if they had a really serious criminal record or something. After that ruling out of California, we were actually able to start getting people released. My office in particular, we were able to get a couple of people out on bond in that period of time, but it only lasted for a couple of weeks. And this is point number four. Why did things change again? Point number four, the immigration court system issued guidance about 2 weeks after the California court rendered its decision. The immigration court system said, no, we don't believe that this rule, this order that came out of the California court was binding on immigration judges. So judges went right back to denying bond hearings again, saying no bond hearings for you. We're not even going to listen. We're going to stick our fingers in our ears. And they went back to applying the same detention policy that had been in effect since late summer. Point number five, final point today. What do we do now? What does anyone do now with the current status quo being really ugly still? Right now in Michigan, if someone is detained and denied a bond hearing, the real option, the only option, is filing what's called a habeas corpus petition in federal court. We talked about this in a previous episode. If you want to look that up, you can find it. I think it's entitled Habeas Corpus. And I tried to get into it in that episode. Habeas corpus is basically a lawsuit against immigration authorities where an immigrant would argue that they're being detained illegally or against the law. The good news on this subject is that the Federal Appeals Court, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals covering Michigan, is expected to rule on this issue, whether this detention policy is legal or not, sometime in the spring or early summer. And this could resolve the issue forever. Hopefully that decision goes in our favor, that argues that it decides that immigrants who entered without inspection, entered without papers, are actually eligible for the possibility, at least, of being released on bond. Hopefully that happens. A court in Texas recently decided the other way, so you have potential conflicts getting set up all across the United States between different courts of appeal. And if that happens, the U.S. Supreme Court would get involved, presumably, and then would say what the policy is for the entire country. We have no idea what would happen then. But in any event, that's the update about the detention rules this week. As you all know, liberty is a work in progress, our work.